to the Gong Pod. Thanks for joining us. Everything sport in the Illawarra. Before we get into it, please make sure to subscribe on our YouTube and our Spotify. It basically just pops us up whenever we go live, so we don't have to bombard you with posts and everything when we go live. And follow us on Insta and TikTok as well. The support is appreciated. Please get engaged as much as you can, and then we can grow this as much as we can and get some more cool guests on, like we did with Damon Lowry last week, which if you haven't listened to or watched already, be sure to go back and watch it. He's fantastic chat, obviously a 2001 Hawks champion. But the format from this week onwards is a little bit different. So we're going to have our sport chat after this. But for the first 5-10 minutes, we're just going to do a little quick sport hit bulletin-like thing. So I'm basically going to update you quick fire what's going on in Illawarra sport. And from there, we'll chat with Grace about all the big things going on at the moment. But let's get straight into it, shall we? So first things first, Windang's Alec Volkanovski. He's back in the octagon this weekend. He returns for his first fight since losing to Ilia Topuria. He takes on Brazilian Diego Lopes at UFC 314 in Miami on Sunday, our time. Now, he hasn't fought since February last year, and he hasn't won since July 2023, so Volk needs a win. Over to rugby league, Zach Lomax has come back to haunt his former side. He slotted the winning field goal in Parramatta's 23-22 win over St George Illawarra Dragons, which we will get into later for many reasons. Good reasons for me. But here's what Dragons coach Shane Flanagan had to say. He basically said too many crucial mistakes cost them.
Same thing as we did against South Sydney, led by 12 and couldn't nail it, couldn't finish it. So, we've got to learn quickly. I can throw out new spines and all that sort of stuff, but they're an experienced spine, so we're not going to toss that out there. We just didn't get it done. There was a lot of effort there. I thought we just didn't execute properly in really important times. There's a couple of decisions there that I thought were tough, and we didn't handle what come after it very well. Attention to detail in some of the things. We had 5 errors coming out of our end, a couple on tackle 2 again, just lost balls in contact, which is not up to standard. So, as I said, the effort's there. Definitely the effort's there. Just we put ourselves under too much pressure. So
that was Dragons coach Shane Flanagan there. Now on the other side, I'm going to play some Jason Riles audio. He was the coach of the Parramatta Eels. He got his first professional win. Why am I playing Riles? Well, he's actually Wollongong born. I'm pretty sure he went to Fig Tree High. He says he's a bit relieved. Nice to get a win on the board.
Honestly, it's relief because I see how hard the players have worked and I see what they've put into it, and then just see them finally get what they deserved. It was just, it was relieving more than exciting.
Tell you what, if there was ever a man who had to be relieved, it was him. Now, back at home, though, so their co-captain, Clint Gutherson, he spoke to the media. He says the side needs to move on quickly from their Golden Point loss to Para, and he basically says it's eyes forward to their next game at Wynn Stadium on Friday night.
We're footy players and we know that. We're a team, and I want to win everything I do. But look, it's the way it is. This is where we're at, and the best thing about rugby league is you get to go again next week. So we have a chance to sort of work on that this week and get ready to go for Friday.
Right, so the Dragons take on Gold Coast Titans at 6 o'clock at home in Wollongong on Friday. But Gutho also spoke about how it was a weird feeling running onto CommBank in a different kit to the Parramatta kit he wore for the last 9 years. And he was talking about how he was looking across at old teammates and having a little bit of a laugh pre-game.
Yeah, it was a bit funny. You don't really think about it until you run out. And there was one point I looked over and saw Joe staring at me, and then Dill was laughing at me at the other stage. So then once the ball's kicked, you move on pretty quickly and you forget about it, and it's just another game of footy.
He's obviously talking about Joe Offahengawi and Dylan Brown there, ex-teammates of his from last year. But yes, so 23-22 Parramatta. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Sticking with rugby league and for the Dragons NRLW side. So 29-year-old Brooke Anderson has signed a 2-year deal with the Dragons NRLW squad for the 2026 and 27 seasons. So Anderson made her State of Origin debut for the Sky Blues in 2023 before earning a Kiwi Ferns nod later that year. She played 25 NRLW games across stints at Parramatta and Cronulla to go along with her Origin cap and half dozen tests. To basketball now, and Illawarra Hawks veteran Toddy Blanchfield is re-signed with the NBL 25 chance for another 3 seasons. Big deal for Toddy. We'll talk more about that later as well. So the club making the announcement on Monday night after Blanchfield played a crucial role in their bench rotation on their run to the trophy this year. He currently leads the MVP race in the NBL 1 East competition after the first couple of rounds as well. Sticking with basketball, and NBL free agency is now open. There's a few Hawks free to sign with other clubs currently at time of recording as well. So Trey Kell, Sam Froling, and Darius Days all listed as free agents. Again, we'll talk about that. But meantime, the likes of like Tyler Harvey, Dave O'Hickey, Hung Jong Lee, they're already locked up. And of course, Dan Greta and Mason Peatling committed their futures to the club earlier last week as well. But in funner news, the Hawks have been confirmed as the next championship team to receive the keys to the city. So council confirmed the news last night. Justin Tatum's team will now join their 2001 championship predecessors on the honour roll. Wollongong City hoping it can be coordinated to happen at the first game of next season when the 2025 championship banner is raised. At the first home game of next year, that is. Looking forward to that. But I want to know what the keys to the city really means. We'll dive into that a little bit later on. Okay, so to running now, and Albion Park's Jess Hull has finished 4th in the 1,500 metres of the first round of the inaugural Grand Slam track season in Jamaica. She finished 3rd in the 800 metres as well, taking 4th overall in the women's short distance category. Short for some, not for others. So Grand Slam track is this new thing. So it's backed by a prize purse of about 20 million Oz dollars. So it's the most lucrative athletics league in history. We'll talk more about a bit about that later. In football, the Matildas backed up their win on Friday night with a 2-0 win over Korea in Newcastle Monday night. Why am I mentioning that? Well, a couple of ex-locals played a part. So one-time Illawarra Stingray Mary Fowler replacing a local Caitlin Ford in the starting lineup, and Fowler got on the score sheet early before Caitlin Torpey got in on the action in the second half. The next international window for them will be a 2-match home series against Argentina. More local now, it's now 3 losses in a row for the Wollongong Wolves after a 6-0 hammering at the hands of Manly United on the weekend. Tough loss there. It's their biggest loss of the season, with a sending off in the second half with half an hour to play, seeing the score go from 3-6 in that time frame after losing that player. Their next game now is a local derby against Sutherland Sharks at 3 p.m. on Sunday. I believe that's 9v10th as well, so crucial there. In local Illawarra Premier League, Wollongong Olympic remained top of the league with a game in hand over second place Coniston after a 4-0 win over Oak Flats Falcons for Olympic. Shell Harbour beat Helensburgh 2-0. Albion Park got their first win of the year 2-1 over South Coast United. Coniston beat Bulli 2-1. Wollongong United got home 1-0 over Cringilla, and Tarrawanna drew 0-0 with Port Kembla. This weekend, Cringilla host Shell Harbour on Friday night. On Saturday, Oak Flats host Tarrawanna, Wollongong United host Bulli, Helensburgh host Albion Park, and South Coast United host Wollongong Olympic. On Sunday, Port Kembla host Coniston. In the women's IPL, Shell Harbour beat University of Wollongong 1-0. Woonona beat Thirroul 4-1, and Coniston beat Bulli 12-0. In the this weekend coming up, Woonona take on Shell Harbour. Shellhaven take on Shell Harbour. I might have made a typo there. Shellhaven take on Shell Harbour. UOW take on Thirroul. Coniston have the bye. I am missing a team there. I'm assuming maybe Woonona take on Uni or something. No, never mind. Scratch that. I'm running out of team. Bulli takes on Woonona potentially. I think Bulli and Woonona. Apologies. In local footy, Group 7 Rugby League season kicked off over the weekend, so there were round 1 wins for Milton Ulladulla Bulldogs, Kiama Knights, Albion Park Oak Flats Eagles, and the Gerringong Lions. In the Ladies League tag, wins for the Bulldogs, Jamboree Superoos, Shell Harbour Sharks, Stingrays of Shell Harbour, and the Berry Shoalhaven Heads Magpies. Lake Illawarra in cricket have claimed their 9th straight South Coast Cricket Premiership. Very impressive. The Champs getting a 60-run win in the final against the Rail. Kerrod White hitting a century with the bat, smashed 10 boundaries and faced only 121 balls. Finally, last one, national sport or international sport, but there's a local in the WSL. So the Surfing League, no joy for Geroa's Sally Fitzgibbon at the Surf City El Salvador Pro. She was knocked out of contention in the elimination round. Meantime, fellow South Coaster Tyler Wright made it through the round of 16, Heat 8, before the event was put on hold because of a drop-off in swell. That's your sport hit. Let's talk more with Grace now. Get up to much over the weekend or...
I don't think so.
You
ask me every week, and I say I don't think so because it's Tuesdays. It's just so far. It's been so long since the weekend. I actually forget what I do.
Yeah, it does feel like a lifetime. I had a great Saturday. Thanks for asking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how was your weekend? Was it more entertaining than my nothingness?
Can we? I think this is a good little segue. Can we talk? Top Gong straight away this week?
We can. You're the leader.
Cool. Okay. Oh, well, we're a fast forward sort of progressive little podcast here, so anyone can take the lead. But my Top Gong this week is Zach Lomax.
You're an Eels fan, aren't you?
I am indeed.
I'm not a Dragons or an Eels fan, so I'm supposed to be impartial, but
Yeah. Impartiality can just go out the window for the next 5 minutes because can I just say, first ever little media pass to an NRL game, first time ever on the sideline, and I picked the second half of the Dragons-Eels game to go down the sideline, and it might have been the best afternoon of my life.
yeah. Is it up there? Did it beat buying a house?
Look, you know what? I'm going to say yes so far.
Oh my gosh. No one tell your partner.
No. Well, look, I've told her countless times, her being a Dragons fan as well, so it was even better. But having uninterrupted view, like buying a house is one thing, but it's not every day you get to watch a Parramatta Golden Point win, eye level, uninterrupted view. I've even got the video on it. And then you get to you get to sort of explore CommBank Stadium behind the scenes. And I got to say, that was pretty fun being in the CommBox. I went in the CommBox first half, and then I went down sideline half time, spent the sideline in the second half. And it might have been the best thing ever. I don't know if you've been to an NRL, or you've covered NRL once, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I've covered NRL a couple of times. I've done Magic Round. But as you say, it's not every day that happens because you'll probably, Golden Point win for the Parramatta Eels probably happens once in a century.
Well, it seems like a win happens every once in a century at the moment, but like it was a lot of those like pinch yourself moments, like because I got it through Matty Russell, who obviously Matty Russell, friend at the show, who was the lead commentator on the day. But like I went back up to the CommBox before heading down to the press conference, and I'm like getting in this lift to go to the press conference, and I'm with Matty Russell, Blocker Roach, Spud Carroll, and Kevy Walters. And then there's me. I'm just like, what the hell? What am I doing here?
Definitely, yeah, you do feel like an intruder, don't you?
Oh, I totally didn't feel like I belonged.
Yeah. Especially when they all know each other so well and they go, "Oh, who are you?" It's like, "Oh, I'm just me."
Well, it's literally like, even like after the game when like, because I was sitting with Lara Pitt on the sidelines and she's going straight out to do the post-game interviews. And I'm just sitting here with this all-access pass, just sitting there. I'm just like, am I allowed on this field? Am I allowed? And I'm just like, no one's going to pull me off. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm allowed. But
Yeah.
like, yeah.
It's an experience.
It was pretty cool because we had the Dragons bench right next to us, and it's sort of like, the brute hits you feel on the ground. And it's just like you can hear it and feel it. It's just like different breed. But anyway, not to completely gloat about my Top Gong. What was your Top Gong this week?
Of anything?
Of anything.
I'm going to say it was my first experience of daylight savings in...
Oh, Queenslander.
Yeah, so I've never lived through daylight savings, and then moving down here was one thing, like having the change, but I've never woken up and the clocks have all just changed. And on Sunday, I believe it was Sunday that it ended, I woke up really early and I was like, oh my God, 6:30. Like I'm so productive today. And I went for my walk in the morning instead of doing it in the afternoon. And I was like, finished a story by 9 a.m. I was thinking, what on earth? Like today is just so good. And I was like, no, this is actually the longest day of my life ever. And it was just, I woke up at 6:30 because in my mind it was still 7:30. It was nothing to be proud of, but it was just a bit of a culture shock with the whole clocks changing again. Um, and basically, I've just been waking up an hour earlier the last 3 days and going for my walks. So in the end, I felt very productive thanks to reverse daylight savings.
I didn't even think about that. Queenslander first daylight saving. It's like that that realization that it was the longest day ever. It's like it's the best thing and the worst thing at the same time because it's the one day of the year where it always feels later than what it is, and you realize you actually have more of the day left, which is a good and a bad thing.
Well, I was working Sunday, so
Oh, that might have been a bad thing
I
then.
love my job. I love my job, but it was a really long day. It was really long.
See, I haven't. Well, I suppose it kind of worked in my favor considering, and it's probably a good segue to explain why we are not in person. It's because I am actually at home and I finished work. What is it? 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I finished work pretty much 5 hours ago now, because I'm on the early mornings, and there was one less hour for me to change my body clock. And it kind of worked in my favor. I actually haven't been too bad for someone who's waking up at 3:30 every single morning. But oh, look, yeah. Let me be absolutely clear. I do not do that voluntarily. Do not do it voluntarily at all. Absolutely not.
Get better at it though.
Look, completely. I've been more tired. Like this. What time is it? 4 o'clock. That 2 to 4 o'clock mark is when I felt the most tired the first couple of days. I actually haven't felt. Usually in the mornings at the start, I'd always feel super drowsy for the first couple of hours of the day. But this week I actually felt okay, which is surprising. But mind you, I did pop a melatonin
At 2 o'clock.
Yeah, mind you, I did pop a melatonin at like 7 o'clock Sunday night, so that kind of helped me a little bit, and it was already dark.
I I wish melatonin worked for me. I don't know what it is. I'm a terrible sleeper, which
Yeah.
which makes me a terrible morning person. Like I can't get to sleep until about 1 a.m. most nights. So I'm lying there and all I can think about is like not being able to fall asleep. And then alarm goes off 6, 7 o'clock every morning. I'm like, I had the same regret in my mind every single day of my life. Like, God, I should have gone to bed earlier, but I just can't do it. I never learn.
I always used to have a problem when first starting out on the job and just covering random breakfast shifts. Like the worst thing about it was the first night just thinking about how early you have to get up, and as a result you don't sleep. Now I'm just at the point where I just accept it and it actually works out okay. But I only take a melatonin on the first night just to set me up, and I just won't nap the next day if I can. Just sort of like naturally change my body clock a bit. But anyway, Top Gong, Zach Lomax in daylight savings, not intertwined at all. We probably should talk about some sport, and we may as well stick on the topic. Yeah, a little bit. Dragons, 12-point lead in the second half, thrown away on Saturday. Now, and as we're recording this as well, they got their team list up for the Titans game, which we'll get into a little bit later. But you know what? We won't get into it a little bit later, actually, because it's exactly the same 17 as last week. So nothing special there. But yeah, so 23-22, Dragons down to Parramatta. Sweet for me, but errors cost the Dragons in the end, Grace.
Yes, as per usual. And I know poor Dragons fans down here and everywhere across Australia, if they exist across Australia, are probably thinking the same thing. Defense. Flano talks about it all the time. It's a main focus, it's a priority. And at the start of the game and until the second half, really, it looked like they'd kind of fixed anything that needed some tinkering, and then it just fell apart, really. And I don't quite know why or how that happens after you take a win against the Melbourne Storm premiership favourites one week and then you lose to bottom place Parramatta Eels. And I think it was just a little bit of salt on the wound for Lomax to the golden point to come off Lomax's boot. I'm not savvy if there's any animosity between them, but scoring the final point against your former team.
Yeah, it was. Well, I think Actually, I know for a fact Lomax was actually crying during the post game interview, like because I'm pretty sure he spent all his juniors there, so like obviously big build up and all that. I don't think there's animosity as such. It was just a parting of ways because if I remember correctly, the signing to Parramatta happened pretty early last year before his massive run of form. But like even Flano in the press conference at the end of the game, he didn't seem like he had any animosity as well. Like he was he just accepted it's like, yep, the Dragons were their own worst enemy on the day. But you talked about backing up from the Melbourne game. I had a theory which paid off in my tipping comps. So I picked Parramatta.
As in literally paid off?
No, not literally. Just in the tipping comp. No, not a gambler. Although in hindsight, it probably would have worked. But I said all week, Dragons played their grand final the week before against Melbourne. They got up, they got their first win. Emotions were high, draining. They can't back that up 2 weeks in a row. Parramatta are desperate. However, I can see Gutho crossing for a couple.
Oh, so you even went that far and got it right.
I originally, I'll be completely honest, I tipped Para, but I didn't have any confidence. I just purely based that theory. But I had a lot of confidence that Gutho was going to cross for a double.
Yeah, well, there's another one, like playing his former team. I don't know, maybe he just knows them well. But as he said in a press conference yesterday, I think it was you say hello and you do that, and it's got 5 minutes of emotion, and then kickoff happens, and that's out the window. And I don't think that was in his mind, and I don't think it was in Lomax's mind until after again.
No, well, it's so tense down on the ground that you cannot afford to think about it. But yeah, with Gutho as well, he crossed for, I think the double was he scored the second try in the second half, but he had a try and a try assist at halftime, and he was in everything for St. George. And I remember I turned to Blocker Roach. I was like, yeah, Blocker, heard of him. And it's just like, it was always going to be Gutho. He was always going to have a say on this game one way or another. But at the same time, so was Lomax. It was always going to, in the end, it was going to come down to one of those two players or both of them, and it did in the end. You mentioned about the press conference with Gutho, though. You had a little story on him as well. Basically, he's saying, got to move on quick. In our little sport hit at the start of the episode as well, we sort of played a little grab from him there. What else did he say?
Yeah. Guys, subscribe to the Illawarra Mercury. No, he's in pretty honest spirits. I mean, when you're a skipper as well, there's not too much room to let your emotions dictate every single week. Not that rugby league has much to do with basketball, but it was a point that was made through the NBL season. You know, the likes of Dean Vickerman, stoic after a win, stoic after a loss, and worry about the emotions with your team. He's as in Gutho, is a professional in all senses, and he just gets on with it, really. And they're all in under the same impression. They know what they need to do. It's just about putting it into a game for two halves, not one half and then dropping off, or slow start and then trying to pick it up. They
Yeah.
they're comfortable and they're confident in their skills. We just haven't seen what they clearly see at trainings.
And that's like, and it's funny because Jason Ryle said exactly the same thing about Parramatta on the weekend. Because I sort of asked him like was it 4 losses in a row, facing down 5? You were down by 12, which Parramatta, I think going into the game, they averaged 11 points scored a game. So if you're down by 12 in the second half, that's a big ask. But Riles did say like the fight that they showed in the second half, he's seen that all preseason. It's just, it hasn't been translated across to the pitch, obviously. But yeah, it's interesting little similarities with that there. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say the other thing that he brought up a little bit. I didn't touch on it hugely, but the whole him talking on Lachlan Ilias, obviously young halfback, both of their halves. Look, I can't deny that the halves for Dragons are not the standard of halves for most NRL teams. I know a lot of people like to diss on Flano as well, coach and son thing. It's not the Clearys, but at the end of the day, he's your first grade half, so you just got to let it slide. But talking about Lachlan coming over from Souths, where he hadn't had a lot of experience the past 12 months from injury and having to play behind Reynolds, but he's
Walker.
That
Reynolds beforehand, of course. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You were going way, but you were going way back. You were big brain. I'm small brain.
Yeah, well, because Ilias was injured last year, so he wasn't playing behind anyone really.
Yeah, that was a nasty injury too.
That you can tell Gutho has faith in his young ones and faith in the new recruits, as he is one as well.
I mean, there's a reason why the guy was captain at Para for how many years, and it's captain straight out the bat here. Like I'm still filthy we let him go in all seriousness. But obviously we got the 40-minute Zoom limit time, so we might have to move a little bit. We could talk about this all day whenever we're back in person, and Gong Studios is official in a couple of weeks. But Team List Tuesday as well, so no changes to the lineup. Dragons take on Titans 6 o'clock at Wynn Stadium this Friday. Are you reporting this game this week?
I am. I will be there to report on my home team Titans.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, well, it's been a while since I did anything with my Titans. It'll be very interesting, but I like the fact that it's a little bit like this time last year. I was writing for the Bulletin up at Gold Coast about how Titans were 0-4 for the start of the season, and now I'm writing about how Dragons are 1-4.
It's amazing how life works out, but then there's similarities in it as well.
I don't pick good footy areas, do I?
I mean, you're talking to a Parramatta fan. I mean, I can empathise. One thing that is good areas at the moment, though, is basketball locally, and let's go on some good news. So, Toddy Blanchfield has re-signed for 3 more years. I'm not surprised. I'm so happy he is. However, the 3 years really caught me off guard. I was surprised, but they must have some sort of faith in him.
Yeah, well, maybe he's set for a Bron kind of arc where he just goes on and on and on and on and on. I think, didn't we research this recently? How old is Toddy? Like 35?
That was a very high note there. Todd Blanchfield, how old is he? Let's do
I feel like we did this last time.
He is 33, so by the end of the deal, 3 years later, to go to 36.
Yeah, all right. Well, after that, sign him for 4 more years, hit the 40. But no, I think, honestly, I don't have any reservations about him being able to play 3 more fantastic years. Maybe he's not going to play, what has he got, 15, 20 minutes a game. I don't think he'll be up there. Maybe in that final year, he might have 5 to 10. Who knows? Obviously, rotations change year in, year out. But if the last 12, 18 months is anything to go by, I don't think there's need to think he's worrying, he's slowing down. At the end of the day, he made it clear halfway through this season that he wanted to reach the 500 mark of games. 1.5 seasons might get him there. So, that's absolutely on the cards, as fingers crossed he remains fit and healthy. Yeah, I have no concerns about a 3-year deal at this stage. And I actually like how the Hawks, the last however many contracts that they've signed, have all been 3 years rather than that 1 or 2 year deal that you see a lot from other teams, because I like longevity.
100%. And you don't get that in basketball.
I hate quick turnover.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very popular across the league to just sign these 1 and 2 year deals, club option, mutual option. I'm a big fan of the 3-year deals.
Yeah, and can I break a little more news about Todd Blanchfield potentially? Someone gave us his number.
Did they just?
Yeah. Toddy Blanchfield, answer my calls, please. Thanks.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, more to come, just quietly. Anyway, we'll see.
Soft launch for a Toddy Blanchfield feature.
Well, let's just say it could happen, like Damon Lowry happened. Who knows?
Yeah, well, that's positive. That's positive signs. Phone number's the first step, as they say.
Yeah. In many walks of life. Anyway, moving on from Toddy Blanchfield and dating, the Hawks got the keys to the city as well. What exactly is the keys to the city? Is it just a symbolic thing?
You're asking the wrong person. I'm 22 years old, and I haven't even considered what keys to the city means.
Like, I can't imagine like Davo or Tyler or Toddy, for example, just walking around to every store like at midnight. It's just like, you know what? I feel like a kebab and I'm just going to open up this door. I don't think it's like a magical key.
When I was younger, I think it was on The Simpsons, I saw something about keys to the city, and I genuinely, wholeheartedly thought that keys to the city meant that you had this one master key that let you everywhere in the city.
It was literally like
that's what it is.
No, or like I literally like I thought exactly the same thing. It was that Ralph Wiggum episode where he had that key to the city with his dad, and Bart Simpson stayed over his place that night, and they literally went to that Lolly candy store. And
I remember this. I just remember the keys to the city thing and being thoroughly confused.
Yeah, my Simpsons education has come in clutch right here. Quickly on free agency as well, we spoke a bit about it with Damon last week. Shameless plug, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. He was actually a very good chat. I learned a lot about him, and he trained.
I missed that. I'm so sad that I missed that.
Yeah, oh, look, did you see the reel about how much he trains now?
Maybe I did not see that one.
Is
he a god?
I'll explain. He's 55 years old, trains like a seal. He got to a point where in COVID where he said, nah, I'm getting a bit soft in my old age, read up all these Navy SEAL books. He now runs 100 Ks a week maintenance, and the most he's ever done is 1,500 Ks in a month in his 50s, right? And this, like, mind-blowing. Seriously, he is a freak. And he literally pumps it off. It's just like, yeah, 100 Ks maintenance. It's like, it's what I do. But he always said the mind gives up before the body does. And it's good mentality.
I'm in for a rough 50s then.
Yeah.
I don't think I've run 100 Ks in a week. I don't think I've run 100 Ks a month ever.
Like, you think about it, that's more than a marathon a day, that 1,500 K month.
Him and Ned Brockman should link up.
Ned Brockman, Damon Lowry, reach out. Anyway, back to it. Free agency, which was what I started about originally. Probably should mention as well, we re-signed Dan Greta and Mason Peatling. That all got lost in everything last week. But free agency's out now, and basically the big ones are Darius Days, Trakel, Sam Froling are on the market now. Still not signed up as we speak. Like Damon provided like an interesting take. He said, yeah, lock Sam up regardless of the injury, rehab him, getting back into it. Darius, he didn't say too much about, but Trey, he said it was Trey. He said it was interesting because he said with the imports, it's sort of a different story. With Tyler, obviously he's locked up. Looks he's going to be an Oz citizen soon. He's settled here, but he said with Trey, he could test the open market. What do you reckon?
I think he'd be silly not to, but I think he'd be more silly to leave, if that makes sense. Like, test the open market and by all means do your thing, boy. But like, why would you move when you've got a lethal backcourt of Harvey and Trakel and Hickey? Although that might be a reason for him wanting to move on, like the roles changing in the last 3 months. But I think it'd be a hasty decision to leave after like being a one and done kind of championship guy. He doesn't strike me as that kind of person. And like, he spoke very highly of the club culture, and he spoke very highly of the I think it was like a brother thing between himself and Coach Tatum. But you know how things go. Like, I don't think anyone really had in their cards Delhi going to Kings. So
no, that was a bit out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I will say on the I agree with the Froling thing. I agree with the Harvey thing. Obviously, he's locked down for another 2 seasons, I think it is, and he could be naturalized in the next 12 months or whatnot. So the question is, when he is naturalized, do you go for a third import that's in the front court or back court? That is my main question. And before Froling being injured, I would have gone front backcourt, get another guard in. But now that Froling's down, if he's not 100% in 9-12 months' time, when the next lot of free agency comes up, I would be going for a big man. But on the Darius Days front, and it's an idea that's been floated around me a couple of times, the idea that Gary Clark wants to return, which would be very handy. And as someone who only watched 1 season of Gary Clark towards the end there, and I didn't really know what I was looking for anyway, the more I hear about how great Gary Clark was and the comparison between him and Darius, I don't think that'd be a silly decision. And I'm sure Darius would find a home elsewhere in the NBL, and I'm sure he'd be happy to take a new home.
And best case scenario, we get to keep all of them. But it's interesting you say, do you get the big or you get the small? When we don't even know whether Lockie Aubrey gets picked up in the draft as well, because as we know now, he's committed. So that completely depends on what happens there as well. But you never know. Anyway, we got to move on because we got the time frame as well. We could talk about it all day. That's the good thing. Once we're not restricted with time, we can talk about it all day. But we go to Wolves now, and it's gotten bad, a bit bad for the Wolves. 3 losses in a row, 6-0 drubbing. We got 10 minutes to go, so let's go straight into it. So what did Warren Grieve say? Because I think you did an article about the Wolves. What did Warren Grieve say?
You just giving me all this free promo.
I mean, we're talking about news. You're the news.
Exactly. I am the news. Actually, I think that's my Instagram bio. I am the news in asterisk sport.
Yes, sport.
But no, Warren Grieve. So I gave him a call and he didn't answer, and then I left a message, and then he called me and I was like, Warren, how you doing? And he's like, I've had better weekends, Grace. That was the first thing he said to me. And yeah, look, I watched the replay. I'm not a soccer noob, but I watched the replay and I could tell it wasn't a great performance. As he said, they'd had early shots on goal. I think the shots were 24 to Manly and 17 to Wolves. So comparatively not a huge difference, but on target 6-0. Huge difference. But pretty much every single time it'd be Wolves go on, have attack, have a look on the goal, something would go wrong, it'd miss, it'd be saved or whatever. Kudos to Manly. And then they'd get stuck on transition, they'd be behind, and goal would be scored 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. But as Warren said, and as I write in the article, you go into the sheds 2-0 at halftime, and that's not too bad because one goal and all of a sudden it's nothing again. But you let in the third goal, and then you have a player red carded and sent off, and you're playing 30 minutes with one man down. That's an entirely new game. And 3-0 suddenly looks a lot more difficult with less than a half to play. And Warren just said, heads went down, looked like an entirely different team, and it was shot from there.
Yeah, and like a thing I'm picking up from you is like the key issue is that transition when you lose the ball. It's this the whole basic of the game is when you win the ball, you spread it out as quick as you can. When you lose the ball, you compact the field as quick as you can, and obviously that's a bit of an issue if that's where it's going. But it's interesting. I had a look. So they conceded 6 goals in the first 6 games. They've conceded 10 in the 3 games since. So defense was a strong point at the start, but it's sort of, hasn't played out that way the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. And as I say, I'm not a soccer expert. I don't really know what I'm looking at other than like the basics. But they need to sort out what's gone wrong in the last couple of weeks and kind of revert back to, maybe it's about reverting back to the basics. Maybe it's just simply they're coming up against teams that are finding their groove at the time that Wolves are in a bit of a slump. I mean, it's a long season. It could just be bad timing.
Yeah, potentially. I think Manly are up there at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, I think when I did the preview, they were top 8 or something. Oh, yeah, like 5th.
Okay, so probably one of the more form teams of the comp. But the Wolves, they sit,
Buys and draws and stuff. The NPL ladder is you can have lost no games and still be only 5th. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a long season as well in the NPL. So Wolves take on Sutherland this weekend. They're sitting in 10th. Last little story, Jess Hull, another local runner. So she finished 4th in the 1,500 metres of the first round of the inaugural Grand Slam track season in Jamaica. 3rd in the 800-metre race as well, taking 4th overall in the women's short distance category. So it seems like it's like this new track series, which is financially viable for runners, which is something that runners don't usually have unless they're top.
Yeah. I mean, this thought literally just popped into my head. I was a track runner before I moved into the team sports.
Say the line.
And when I was growing up, pardon?
Say the line.
Sorry?
Say the line.
She's a runner. She's a track star. Is that the line? No. Cut that out.
Anyway, go on.
Anyway, we don't. What I was going to say is, I used to walk around school with my ribbons. I was that person.
Ribbon guy.
To think about. But no, the thought of having 40 grand from 2 races was unheard of, and that's what Jess has walked away from the first round of this, and there's 3 more to go. Like, you think about how helpful those finances are to get her to the next event. Just insane.
Yeah, how life-changing that is. And it's, pardon you, but how life-changing that that is, considering it is a field where, like, you talk about Olympics and it captures everyone's eyes for 2 weeks every 4 years. But what about the other 200 weeks outside of that as well? It's like
even with Diamond.
Diamond League as well. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Are you okay? You're just dying in the corner over there. But yeah, even with the Diamond League, it's like, unless if you're the top echelon getting all the sponsor deals, realistically, you're not earning much from your competition. But I suppose this sort of gives them a little a competition to vie for now, and hopefully it actually sets the trend for other like Olympic sports as well, like proper athletic sports.
Proper.
Yeah, like I'm talking swimming. Like your swimmings and all
You
that
were
stuff.
saying that. I thought you were saying that track wasn't proper.
No, like no. Track is 100% proper. They train ridiculous for what outside of this.
Are you speaking to a former track star?
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I apologize. I'll stay in my lane. Hey, you're looking at the Dapto Public School on Year 6 100 meter and 200 meter champion. Thank you very much. And district.
Sorry to cough over your extravagant awards. I'm really sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Grade 6, I won all 3 carnival age champions.
We're just gifted athletes, which is why we pushed on with it basically, and which is why we're talking about them now and not actually doing the damn thing.
About sports now. I'm just trying to live off my primary school days.
I mean, we get it. We're athletes. We get it. But yeah, like you're talking like your swimmings, your running, which is criminally underfunded for what they train for. It's like if this sets a trend for it, it'll be a good thing. But we've got 2 minutes left, so we might have to wrap things up. So what's on the agenda for you this week?
Hopefully not as much coughing for the next 3 days. But no, I made a friend. I made a new friend down here. So I'm going for a friend lunch.
Oh, friends.
Yeah, a friend of a friend, which will be interesting. Making friends in your 20s is never easy or fun, may I add.
I wouldn't know. I don't have friends.
Hopefully that goes well. And then my family is coming to visit. I haven't seen my family since January. I'm so excited. Sorry to sound like a child right now, but I'm just so excited to see my parents. I severely underappreciated, how much they do for me.
I'm about to realize that in a couple of weeks when I move into my place. But the good thing is I'm only like 2 k's down the road from here, so it's actually not that bad. But I'm about to.
Don't live 12 hours away from them.
No, completely different to you, and 12 hours minus an hour a day, let's say. Oh no, we're back to normal now as well. Anyway,
also shout out to my sister who just got all her wisdom teeth pulled out.
Oh, that's fun.
She's coming down to visit as well. Yeah, I can't wait to make fun of her in person.
Less wise. Everyone told me that joke. I may as well say it. Anyway.
Now everyone hears it.
Everyone hears it. Everyone's none the wiser, part of the pun. Thanks for listening.